Hello, listeners, and welcome to the first ever More Entertainment podcast. With me, I have Nick and Curtis Moore.
What's up?
Hey, what's going on?
And I am your host, Travis Smith. This is hopefully going to be the entry point for many of you who start following More Entertainment. Just a generic podcast to kind of talk about the current news of the day, anything that we are interested in, video games, movies, music, anything like that. So, Nick and Curtis, tell me why you guys created More Entertainment.
Well, obviously, we're big fans of YouTube. Like, for me personally, I have YouTube Red, and I actually don't even have cable anymore personally. Like, when I was living in an apartment or in a different location as a house, it was just, I didn't need it. YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, all those things supplied me with so much entertainment, and it was just nice to be able to just try our own swing at it.
Yeah, I feel like nowadays most younger people, which we're in our mid-20s, but us and lower probably don't even... Anyone younger, like my son, has never had cable, so when he grows up, I feel like, not having it is going to be weird. It's the thing your grandparents have when you go over to their house, and honestly, that might be gone soon enough. So, what is going on, guys? What has happened to you guys this week?
Not really a lot of things. There's a lot of interesting news that's come out. Nice shows have been released that we've just got caught up on. One being Stranger Things 2. I just finished that up.
Oh my gosh, that was so good. Yeah, I had to binge it. I got home from taking my son trick-or-treating on Halloween, and I watched the last 4 episodes up until 2 a.m. It was so good. I can't believe it's got to wait a whole year for another season.
It's going to be more than a year, really.
Pretty much.
Kind of after the first season.
So
or kind of a year and a half wait.
So you really enjoyed Season 2?
Season 2 I thought was amazing. It improved in Season 1 in so many ways. They introduced more characters. The show definitely felt bigger. And the best part is, at least for me, spoiler alert, they introduced the characters that I was dying to see right away. End of episode 1, you see 11. And that was the big cliffhanger of Season 1 was what happened to 11.
Yeah.
And just a quick warning, like you just said, spoiler warning. Anything we talk about is spoiler warning territory. Whatever we decide we want to talk about, just expect spoilers.
We don't do non-spoilers because that is just stupid.
Yeah, we might give you a warning, so if you want to skip ahead a few minutes or whatnot, if it just came out, but Stranger Things has been out for
a while,
month and a half now, so
you should have already watched it.
Just watch it if you haven't. But I love Season 2. Every episode kept me wanting to see the next one, but I couldn't help feel disappointed by the finale for 2 reasons. One, a lot of the action that happened in the last episode was off screen. So 11 shows up in the second to last episode, and you assume either kills or shoos away a bunch of the demo dogs, the baby Demogorgons.
Yeah.
And that's awesome, and it was implied, but I couldn't help but feel, why couldn't we have seen it?
Because my thing is you don't need to see it, and by showing that, what you do is you spoil suspense. Not seeing what kills the Demodog at first,
because it got thrown through the window.
It got thrown through the window, so you don't know what's out there. You don't know if it's Dart that's kind of fighting back. You don't know if 11's back yet. It could be a whole host of things. So by keeping it shrouded in mystery, they saved that suspense for that reveal, which was a really fun reveal.
One thing I kind of wish they would have done is even if it was after the episode ended and they did a mid-credit scene for the very first time in this series. Is you see Will's mom go to the freezer to open it up, and there's the dead Dimmadog.
Yeah,
Dustin has Steve shove in there.
There's got to be I thought it was really weird that they were we have a weird corpse. Let's stick it in the fridge. I don't know. Obviously,
hey! That's for scientific purposes. We can research that.
Now, I felt like with this season there was a lot. I think the reason why I felt disappointed is that there was a lot of things that weren't paid off by the end of it, and that's obviously because they're setting up for seasons 3 and 4, and I get that, and I feel like once those seasons come out, I'm gonna look back on season 2 and be like, oh, it was perfect.
See, I felt
they set up so many things they paid off, whereas this season there was, the demo dog thing, and then my biggest disappointment was I can't remember his name. I'm really terrible with names, but the bad guy of the season.
Let's just call him Jason.
Max's
Billy, by the way.
Billy, yeah, it's Billy. So Billy is other than the giant spider demon, is basically the antagonist of season 2, and his character had basically no growth, but he was in a lot of it. he showed up at least once every episode.
His character wasn't meant to have growth.
But
That's
you know
the
what's
thing.
interesting?
He was meant to be the human antagonist throughout the entirety of the show.
Yeah.
But I would argue that it doesn't need a human antagonist.
It doesn't.
Like, the government is the human... It was, like, basically the human antagonist in
Of
Season 1.
Yeah, of Season 1, but they're no longer the human antagonist in this season.
But they... Sort of. I mean, at least for me, I felt suspicious of them throughout almost the entire season.
I got that feeling,
And then
too.
at the end, yes, they seem, for the most part, to be...
Still on the good side.
Still on the good side, except when 11 goes to her little road trip to Pennsylvania, and she meets 8...
Or Kali.
Kali, or the number 8, who also has special powers, which are different than hers, which...
Nice
Don't get me started how excited I am for, like, X-Men Season 3.
Now, as far as the payoff goes, I actually had a very different feeling with the payoff as opposed to you, because I actually felt a lot of payoff that I didn't get from Season 1 happening in this season. Specifically, the snowball. A lot of stuff happened in the snowball that was a direct payoff for Season 1.
What was this?
Remember, okay, so at toward the end of Season 1, Will asked 11 to the snowball. It's their winter dance for the school.
Oh, see, I didn't even remember that.
And that's when he kisses her, and because he's like, he likes her. But then when I remember watching an interview with the directors, and I think they asked him, "Hey, the ending with the snowball, was that always the intention for the end of Season 2?" And they said yes.
Well, there were Season 2 had a ton of payoffs, but it also set up more stuff. Like that was totally fine. Maybe it was just me and my expectations. I was expecting other things to set. Like going in, I thought Stranger Things was going to be like each season was different. Like each season had a different antagonist, and that's not the way they're doing it, and that's totally fine. But for some reason, I was expecting to find out more about the Mind Flayer.
So, and my thing about Season 2 is that, like, I really enjoyed Season 2, but it's also very enjoyable because it's the exact same as Season 1. And I can break it down for you.
Oh yeah,
and why it's the exact same.
Yeah, it's basically the same season, just on a slightly larger scale.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Basically, because you're talking about the main focus of Season 1 was Will in 11. And that was basically what we got in this one too. Mm-hmm. Obviously, something from the Upside Down got to him, which this one was the Mind Flayer. So it just seems like things start lining up a little bit too similar. His mom is putting more stuff on the wall, just like in Season 1 with the Christmas lights. Mm-hmm. Then you see. 11 having to be the one that ends it all by her sealing up the portal that she is originally opened up in the first one. She's the one that saved him from the Demogorgon at the end of that one. This time she basically had to go full Super Saiyan to close up the portal.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how she grows both as a person because I don't know about you guys, but I didn't realize in Season 1 basically how underdeveloped she was as a person. Like she doesn't know how to say words, she doesn't know how to spell things, all that. She doesn't know how to tell time. Like, I think that's awesome. Like, I never expected that because it's mostly her like being stunted and getting to know Mike in Season 1. But Hopper's a teacher, a father figure. Mm-hmm. A bunch of different things to her.
He's like a bad father figure that accidentally does good things.
Well, you have to remember that his daughter dies. Or we see the flashbacks in Season 1, so he's basically getting to pick up where he left off with his daughter. With 11.
But and he treats her like that. But what he doesn't realize, at least not until the end of the season, is she's not a normal girl, and you can't treat her like a normal girl. You can't say, "Go to your room." She's gonna start throwing furniture around the house, and that's awesome. But I have a 5-year-old, and believe me, it's kicking and screaming and throwing things too. I can't imagine having a teenage daughter with psychic powers and trying to ground her, and not even ground her, but think about just as a normal kid. Imagine if you're any kid and you're like, you can never leave the house ever.
Yeah.
And you can't talk to anyone ever. Of course you would lose your mind. And I love how she finally, gets sick of it, goes out and, finds her mother, and then beyond that even finds, a group of other friends with 8, Callie.
There were also things that I wish that would have happened that maybe, because Callie, obviously her powers in this one is vision. She can make you see what she wants you to see.
Speaking of which, the opening of this series was so cool with her making that guy see like the bridge collapse.
Exactly. Now, one thing I kind of wish had happened, because obviously, as we know that Callie uses 11 or Jane to just keep killing all these people to take them out. She has no real good intentions for 11, but I kind of wish when I know
I don't think that's true. I think they see each other as sisters and people that should have the same goals.
Yeah.
Which her goal is revenge against the people who did it. And 11 wants to do that, but once she's seen that like not all the world is dark.
Yeah.
She's seen the goodness in people with Hopper and with Mike and his friends. And even if she didn't get along with all of Mike's friends, but she still knows you shouldn't hurt people that don't deserve it.
Yeah. Now my thing is that one way I felt like that could have been not necessarily redemptive for 8 or Kali, but just the fact that especially with her ability that she can let people see what she wants, is that she could have gone with 11 to go see her mom and helped her mom see better things. Because you have to remember that 11's mom is just seeing these horrific things over and over and over in her mind, and she's trapped. Why not use Kali's abilities, take her to see her, and help her see for at least a split second that 11's okay, that everything is fine, and maybe help pull her out, because her mind is still trapped. She's almost in the upside down. Yeah, because you see the lights lead her back to the mom.
I think that along with a few other things are one of the things that I was waiting to be made clearer. And maybe that's why I felt a little disappointed by the end of the season. Maybe it's just I don't want to wait a year. But what is going on with 11's mom? Because I assumed the experiments caused her to be like that. But no, we get to see that there's several years after that she gives birth to 11 and is trying to give this lawsuit against the government to try and get her daughter back, of course, which they deny she exists. And then she breaks into the facility at gunpoint and tries to rescue 11 and gets really close. And then they, basically fry her brain. But the way they visualize it when 11 goes to see her, it looks like she is in the Upside Down. I mean, obviously the Upside Down doesn't exist in real life and in other movies, but I've never seen it visualized that way. You think of the person going brain dead, she's not exactly brain dead. She's just not connected with her body, and she has some sort of psychic powers because she was able to make the lights flicker and the TV mess up. And
she had the blood coming out of her nose.
Yeah, the blood coming out of her nose. So
she has her.
There's got to be more to it. Whether Kali or some other
can pull them out.
Yeah, someone can pull them out.
Obviously, there's a lot that isn't answered that will probably be answered in season 3, but also in true fashion, when season 3 comes around, there's going to be even more questions that are not answered.
The interesting thing, though, is that that they're already saying that they want season 3 to take a couple years in the future from where they are now.
I mean, it makes sense if you've seen any of the kids that were on YouTube, or I've seen a couple of them film random commercials and stuff. I mean, they look 3 years older already, even though they're, I mean, it's only supposed to be a year later in the show, but I feel like they're going to have to, because of how fast the kids are growing, they're going to have to make it take place a couple years later. Maybe season 4 will be in the 90s. We'll get Jurassic Park themed episode. That'd be sweet.
That'd be pretty awesome.
There are so many episodes this season that were, just straight almost copies of a movie. There's Indiana Jones. There was an episode where there's 8 E.T. references, and there's a literal doll of E.T. sitting on someone's shelf. I was like, holy cow.
I'm not surprised at that, because the Duffer Brothers, I think is what they're called. They take a lot of inspiration from Stephen King and from those kind of directors. And Stephen King, Steven Spielberg, they pull heavily from their work.
Did you also hear about the theory that possibly Pennywise exists in this universe of Stranger Things?
It could, but they would have to come out and get the okay from Stephen
King. But they kind of left the drops with Bob. Talking about he grew up in the 50s in Maine. They didn't say a specific town, I don't believe.
Yeah, that's probably
and that he was plagued. Plagued by a clown, and eventually he stood up and said, "I'm not afraid of you. Go away." And that's when his nightmares finally stopped.
Sounds very reminiscent of it.
Which was good advice at the time, but obviously we know that was bad advice for Will, because he's actually dealing with this horrific Mind Flayer monster chasing him.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I've played D&D a little bit, but I've read a ton of Forgotten Realms books. I love that they called out the Mind Flayer. It's one of my favorite characters in all, and it's so perfect because, Mind Flayers are these octopus-headed creatures, you get to see an image in the show, but on top of that, they all live in, a city, where there's just this giant, 20-foot wide brain, and they mind control all kinds of other beings dark elves and goblins and stuff, and they have them massage the brain all day long to keep it feeling good, and they're all connected via this giant brain, and if you ever hurt the brain, it hurts all of them at the same time. I think like season 3 there's gonna be
Yeah.
like some. Well, there was in this season there was the nexus where all the tendrils came from, and they lit it on fire, and it hurt everything.
Yeah.
That's exact. I mean, it's pulled straight out of D&D. I love it. I felt like, and I loved it because in the show we have Dustin, who's like one of my favorite characters. He's the nerd. He's explaining how all this works, and they're all interested. And then Hopper's like, "Wait, is this out of your stupid fantasy book?" And he's like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Never mind, we're off it." You know, even though he's giving them actual good advice.
Yeah, and well, I mean, and I remember I thought originally that the Duffer Brothers said that the creature they were going to use for this one was the Thistle Hydra, which, because I mean, they kind of hinted at that at the end of season 1, when they're back playing D&D, and instead of the Demogorgon, like in the very beginning, it was the Thistle Hydra, but at the end, you know, he uses the fireball to kill him, or Will does because he's the mage.
Yeah.
So I thought they were saying that earlier. At one point, they said that was going to be the villain, but I'm kind of glad it wasn't. I mean, he looks like Hydra, but he's also composed of all these little particles almost.
Yeah,
because it is a hive mind, like you said, and it uses these like particles to create the body. But that's how it entered Will, and when it exited Will, I believe it was all particles. It wasn't like
something like that.
It wasn't like a sludge or anything like that.
I got the feeling that whatever image that it's been showing to Will, the giant spidery shadow monster, that's not what it actually looks like. That's what it's representing. I feel like it might be some. Like, it has an intelligence, obviously. They described it as a virus, but I felt like it had to have an intelligence.
No, it is an intelligence. It's just that it's hard to say that isn't what it looks like either, because
when they're
trying to close the portal, you see its head sitting right there. But for some reason, it itself can't cross.
Well, I got the feeling the gate wasn't big enough. Like, in D&D, if you have to be or in, like, Skyrim, video games like that, when you learn how to conjure things or open gates, you can only open a gate big enough based on how powerful you are. Okay. So to summon like the Demogorgon is like a single entity in Dungeons and Dragons. It's like Prince of the Abyss. It's like one of the most powerful demons ever. Yeah. It has to open someone has to open little gates to send his minions through, and then to eventually build a huge gate to let it through. So that's the feeling I was getting. And all of Hawkins was basically becoming the gate. Like, I felt like at any point the city of Hawkins was gonna slip through upside down, and then it was gonna come out.
Well, I mean, you got to remember, like, those vines were underneath, and those were like basically areas that these creatures from the upside down can live, because it's basically the environment of the upside down creeping into the actual world.
Yeah.
So that was interesting, but I think we probably need to move on to something else.
We spent about 20 minutes on Stranger Things.
Which we can always come back and talk about it. But
definitely. I mean, I could talk about that all day. But
the next big thing to talk about, obviously, what dropped this week was the Infinity War trailer.
Oh, God damn.
And there's so much I've pulled from this trailer that I just don't think people realize what's going on.
It's so jam-packed.
Because you're talking about, like, even if we go over just very basic things, this trailer told us way more than people realize. Like, I think where the last location of the Infinity Stone is, the Soul Stone. I think it's in Wakanda. Because you see the ships falling down, you see the alien army go attack Wakanda. And I was discussing this with Curtis after I did some research. And, like, Wakanda's main city, where Black Panther resides, I believe it's called Necropolis, it's the City of the Dead. And at the very center is where Black Panthers go to die, and where present Black Panthers can go to get knowledge from past Black Panthers. Why wouldn't it be the Soul Stone at the center of the city, where they can actually recall the souls of the past Black Panthers to get information? You're talking about, and also this high-powered city. Infinity Stones are extremely powerful. What if they had found a way to use its energy to power their city and to keep the souls of the original Black Panthers?
I mean, that would make sense. I mean, we can even, I mean, in the comics is because there was vibranium there, but what if just the presence of the Soul Stone or changes the environment around it? What if that's
it's possible?
Or ancient aliens build a temple around the Soul Stone, and that's what the vibranium is.
Yeah. And the other reason why I think it's there is from what we've already seen in the trailer, this 2.5-minute trailer that got 230 million views in 24 hours, a record-setting 24 hours.
Most trailer ever viewed online, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. The thing about it is what we saw at 2 different instances and a separate picture that isn't in a trailer, but I'll describe later, is that these new characters, the Black Order, are Thanos' children. And we already know that he's using them to collect the stones. We already saw one stab the pike inside of Vision's head. And then we saw at Proxima Midnight, Huh?
Poor Vision.
I know. But we saw...
he only got 3 movies.
Yeah.
He's going to die.
But we saw Proxima Midnight throw her trident spear at Cap. Where's Cap right now? Wakanda. Why would she be there if there's not a stone there?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the pictures that I saw months ago was actually... it was taken in Atlanta. It was Doctor Strange pinned up with a guy in a mocap suit on. And on his shoulder it said E.B. Maul, which stands for Ebony Maul, another member of the Black Order. And he's reaching for the Eye of Agamotto to get that time stone from Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Obviously, like, almost all this movie is going to be him Thanos getting all the Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
Question is, does he get them all at the end? Do they stop him from getting one of them?
I
Who
say
dies?
he gets them all.
What I love about this trailer is that it showed you so much, and yet I feel like the movie's not spoiled.
No.
We don't have a Batman vs Superman where we know every plot point of the movie.
Here's my biggest point of contention. This movie needs to be minimum 3 hours.
No, minimum of 240 to 3 hours.
See, I don't think it has to be that long because we've already built up everything. Literally,
it doesn't need to be Justice League and be only 2 hours, or less than 2 hours long.
No, I know, I get it, but normally in a movie you have the build up. And then it builds up, climax goes down. We've been building up for 17 movies.
And that's great, but my whole thing is, guess how many characters are going to be in this goddamn movie?
It's going to be a lot.
Every single Marvel character that has been introduced so far is going to be in this movie.
I know, but it's going to be... I've already resigned myself to the fact that it's going to be just like Civil War, where 4 or 5 of the characters get story arcs, and then 45 of the characters are going to be backgrounds, and are going to have like one cool fight scene, and that's going to
Thing is, the trailer doesn't make it look like that.
It really doesn't.
The trailer makes it look like everyone's going to get their equal due.
Well, no, I mean, let's see. We saw Doctor Strange in it a lot, Iron Man in it a lot, Spider-Man, Captain America, and Black Panther. But then, I mean, I don't think there's going to be like a storyline for the Hulk in this movie.
There actually is.
Hulk's going to... Well, he's the one that crashes through Doctor Strange's house.
Well, no, the reason why I say there will be is because before they wrote and started doing stuff with Thor Ragnarok, Kevin Feige went to Mark Ruffalo. He says, if you could do an arc for Hulk, how would you do it? And he told him exactly what he would do. He's like, okay, we want to add it into Thor Ragnarok, Avengers 3, and Avengers 4. Do you think we can do it? Mark said yes. So that's why I think there's actually going to be more story to Hulk this time. It started in Thor Ragnarok, and it's going to make its way through the next 2.
I don't know. I just don't have any illusions that Ant-Man and the Wasp is in this movie, but I don't think we're going to get like a 20-minute scene of the Wasp getting her powers. That's what the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie is.
I'm fine with that. Ant-Man was easily the worst Marvel movie that they've made so far.
It's the worst, but it's still like
I wouldn't say it's the worst.
A B movie, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I think it's still fine.
There's not a bad Marvel movie.
There isn't, and that's what's amazing. I mean, like,
there really isn't.
What's the worst one? The first Thor movie, maybe?
No, Ant-Man.
He's all
like
about
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man
I would say made possibly Incredible Hulk.
Oh, yeah.
Possibly.
For some reason, I just never remember Incredible Hulk.
Well, me and you had that discussion where you thought that came out before Iron Man.
I know.
But either way, like, things that go down in this trailer, you're talking about, one, we finally have to get to see Thanos get out of his chair.
And he's a little bit pinker this time. He's a little
bit more purple, or lighter purple.
He looks like a Skittle a little bit, but
that's fine.
Still looks cool.
You know, he kind of looks like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Kind of, yeah.
And they actually, somebody on YouTube made their own intro of him coming out like he's Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's actually really hilarious.
Yeah. I gotta say, already in this trailer, he's got so many good lines. Like,
oh no,
just all the characters like. Whenever you made the universe, it didn't have to be fun, but this puts up a smile on my face.
No, that's the thing.
Awesome.
Thanos has a very stoic voice, but it booms authority, and it's perfect.
It was kind of like in Guardians of the Galaxy, where he had like a 5-minute scene where he's talking to Ronan, and Ronan, you know, he kills the other, he's acting like he's powerful, and then within 3 seconds, Thanos just beats him down with his words. And then with this trailer, we saw that he actually beats down Iron Man with his fist.
Yeah.
I don't think he's getting up after that.
I mean, he's so threatening without sounding threatening.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like if your dad ever got mad at you as a kid, you know.
Yeah.
He just turns and looks at you and it's just like, you don't want to do that, and then you're like, oops, sorry.
So, here's a fun question. So obviously all 3 of us have seen Justice League, and I think me and you thought we gave it like what, a 6 when we did our review.
We each gave a 6 on that one.
What would you have given that out of 10?
Out of 10.
whole numbers though. We don't like the point system thing.
See, if I were to rate it on action, it would be rated a lot higher. But considering the fact that I have to add the story and all that, it would probably be a 5 or a 6, probably the same way.
So
I really liked the action. I liked watching the characters. I was glad to see these characters on screen. I thought they looked good. I thought they acted good. But just the overall story and then the villain was just so bad that it just brought the rest of the movie down.
So here's my fun question with this. Was the Infinity War trailer better than the entirety of the Justice League movie?
Hell yeah.
Well,
he says hell yes.
Obviously, yes. But sometimes shorter is better.
Well, tell that to Justice League with their movie under 2 hours.
Yeah.
That one should have been longer.
Yeah. With how much they were trying to play catch up to Marvel.
Well, that's the thing.
Which they shouldn't have ever done.
They skipped all the legwork. And if you're gonna do that, maybe just start with Justice League. Give us the origin of the Justice League.
Do you watch any of the animated movies?
I've watched some of them. There was one really good one where they fight Darkseid. Yeah, Darkseid.
It was Justice League War. It was on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's like an hour and a half.
If that was just live action, then
I would have been
live action. I mean, Justice League itself is like 90% animated. I mean, CGI.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, I mean, and the Marvel movies are mostly like Guardians of the Galaxy is like 95% CGI. I mean,
a lot of green screen.
Some whole characters.
But damn, it looked good.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Justice League didn't look very good at times.
Yeah,
that whole
there were times it was
Doomsday, Steppenwolf. They could have done so much better. And obviously, Thanos has to be part CGI because Josh Brolin is not that tall, nor is he that big.
Or that pink.
Or that pink, yeah. But there's a mix of the practical effect in there, too. Like Star Wars does.
Yeah, like, I think, honestly, like, after seeing Age of Ultron, I'll believe anything Marvel puts out. Like,
so you thought Age of Ultron was pretty good?
I loved Age of Ultron.
That's one of the middle ground movies on Rotten Tomatoes. It only has like 75%.
See, some parts of the movie I don't think were great, but I felt like Ultron carried the movie. He was his acting, his weird
James Spader,
voice cadence was so good. Especially the scene where he comes alive for the first time and he's talking to Jarvis. Like I believed it. I was like, this entity was just born. And then he just absorbed all the internet, and now he knows everything. Like,
James Spader definitely stole the show when it came to Age of Ultron.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I kind of wish that we could get more Ultron later on down the road, but obviously that was the one movie he's in. He's no longer around. We have Vision that basically took over that spot of being a android that, has all this information and has the Mind Stone. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I really enjoyed Age of Ultron. Like, I saw it like 3 times opening weekend, something like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, when you go back and watch it multiple times, it's almost slightly hard to say that it's better than the first Avengers. Most people would say, obviously, the first Avengers is one of the best out of all of the MCU.
I love that movie.
I mean, it is very, very good, and I think for the origin of the Avengers, basically, and for the fact that is the first amount of payoff, where more than one hero is in a movie after 4 movies, is so good. I think I still like Age of Ultron better. Like, there's more moments that I remember in the second one. In the first one, there's a lot of them not being super, and
they're on the
helicarrier, and they're all arguing with each other and stuff. I get it needs to happen, but
well, that one you could argue that scene was because of the Mind Stone being in the room and Loki trying to have
absolutely,
which is why like that camera angle turned and it was upside down. That these characters aren't themselves because of the influence of the Mind Stone.
Oh, I don't know if that's true because the Mind Stone's not around in Civil War. They all have a big row. So
technically it is because Vision still has it.
No, I get it.
But I know what you're saying.
I get it. But in the first one, it was. I mean, from the first Avengers, right off the bat, they were like Cap versus Iron Man, button heads, different priorities, different methods of
doing business. Which is great.
Which is, I mean, it's set up for 4 movies later. I mean, it's awesome.
They set it up. They did that in that one. You saw it happen again in Age of Ultron, where they're kind of button heads, and then you finally got the payoff of it during Civil War.
No, that's the thing. Now we all agree that Avengers is the first huge payoff that Marvel's done, right?
Well, yeah.
And then I think we can all agree that there's the next one. Infinity Wars is its next big milestone because it's the other thing that they've been building up to, literally. Since Captain America 1.
I know. My whole worry is that... Well, I'll have to re-ask you on that one in a second. But, that we were getting a 4th Avengers movie, too. And just 1 year later. I don't, with as much buildup as we've had for this one and how much they've kept secret for the fourth Avengers movie,
I mean,
I just don't know how that one's going to be able to top the third one.
I'm 100% convinced that even though they changed the names, it's still basically
A two-parter.
Infinity War Part 1, Part 2. It might be called, I don't know, Avengers, the next step, or what, you know, because it's going to be introducing the next class of Avengers, and you know, I'm assuming several of the older Avengers will be meeting their end.
Yeah. That's what they said, is that the reason why we haven't gotten a title for Avengers 4 is because it is. They said that if
they confirmed that it is a spoiler
the death
title.
of Iron Man. I mean,
that literally they can't put it out until Infinity War is in theaters, or else it's going to spoil stuff.
And I guarantee at the end credits of Infinity War, it's going to be, look forward to your heroes coming, and Avengers, blah, 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 whatever the next thing's going to be.
Some may return for...
I have a friend who really wants the next Avengers after Infinity War to be called, like, Avengers House of M, because if it's House of M...
I heard that maybe with Disney buying Fox,
they get the mutants back.
Then maybe... I worry that
that deal will have to go through within the next year.
They might be just shoving it in, you know, like.
Well, even if it's not, they've done dealings with Fox in the past, which is why, because like they basically made a trade at one point. Basically, Fox allowed Marvel to use the right of Ego the Living Planet, and Fox got the right to use Negasonic Teenage Warhead for Deadpool. Mm-hmm. So that they've done these trade-offs before. That they exchanged a little bit of rights for a time being.
Speaking of, Disney definitely got the better part of that deal. They got the antagonist of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, whereas we got Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Yeah.
She's fun.
I thought she was one funny line, and then it was in like 5 minutes.
She's fun.
Yeah. She's fun, but I mean, it's such...
They really wanted her that badly for this Deadpool movie, but... And she's going to be in the next one, too.
And I get why they wanted her, because she is legitimately like the complete...
opposite. Antithesis.
Oh, there's
she's almost like the protege of Deadpool.
She's
like thinks everything he does is funny, you know, and it's Colossus is the one
foil.
Like, no.
She is the perfect foil to Deadpool.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's just interesting things. And now here's another question. This one's not going to be a funny question, just kind of leading into other things that we could probably talk about. What are you more excited for? Star Wars, The Last Jedi, or Avengers Infinity War?
Oh, Avengers. I love Star Wars. Don't get me wrong. I'm so excited that they're both coming out within 6 months of each other. I mean, you get both of like the two biggest franchise. And I mean, it feels like Avengers has been around a lot longer than 15 years, and Star Wars has been around for 45.
Avengers only been around for 10.
See, I kind of feel like that's an unfair question, because if this was like Star Wars Episode 9 compared to Avengers Infinity Wars, that'd be a really difficult choice. But right now you're comparing like a middle movie to something that's like getting close to the climax.
I hate to say it, I still think it's a fair question because it's still Disney.
It's still a fair question. Also, what's the best Star Wars movie ever made?
Empire
Most people say Empire Strikes Back. The middle movie, the dark movie where, you know, crazy stuff happens. I'm more excited for Episode 8 than I am for Episode 9. Obviously 8.
By the way, how many of you want to bet that this Infinity Wars movie, if it is as dark as it's supposed to be, people are going to go to it and all saying, yeah, it's kind of like the Empire of Marvel now.
No, I know, but here's the thing. So
people to answer your question, okay. I'm more excited for Infinity War.
I am too. After I saw the trailer for Infinity War, I started seeing posts about Star Wars. I'm like, I can't even get excited.
And you know what's gonna be crazy? We're gonna be all excited for Star Wars. We're gonna sit down in the theater. We're gonna be rubbing our hands. Who's Rey's parents gonna be? We're gonna get to see the Infinity War trailer and not even
right in front of the damn movie.
Play this movie instead.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something about Star Wars.
I mean, we could get into that can of worms.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say.
What are we going to think is going to happen in The Last Jedi?
Yeah, that's actually one of my docket pieces. But here's the other thing I was going to say. So people are already kind of backing out with Infinity War, saying there's no way Marvel's going to kill these characters. No, I know. It's story-wise, they should start killing a bunch.
But they killed Quicksilver.
I know. Well, no, here's the thing, though. Here's my retort to that, because they said Disney will never go that dark. We got Rogue One last year, where they literally killed every character. I mean, obviously, these aren't characters that we've grown to love over 10 years. But that was a dark movie in that sense, that they killed every main character.
So, there's two ways I evaluate movies. One is, what is, like, the best standalone movie? What has the best story arc, the best characters? And the other way is, what did I enjoy the most? Out of all the Star Wars movies, I think Rogue One is the best movie.
Movie.
Like, complete story movie.
Yep.
I think it's the best one.
It's the only one.
Now, it's less of a Star Wars movie than every other Star Wars movie. Because what's a Star Wars movie? It's like lightsabers and Jedi and the Force.
This one was more about the wars part.
Yeah, so as a story, I think Rogue One's the best. But if I want to watch a Star Wars movie, I'm not watching Rogue One because it doesn't have lightsabers, it doesn't have Jedi, it doesn't have people doing flips through the air.
I still disagree heavily. I would still say I would rather watch either Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi over Rogue One any day, personally.
But all he's saying is that we're talking about.
And as Empire Strikes Back, honestly, probably does have a better story than Rogue One. But I'm sure everyone's gonna hate me for this, but the movies are like 45 years old now. Like, I can watch the movie and enjoy it, but I still like to see pretty shiny things. So like, Rogue One is, to me, is a original trilogy movie because everything looks like the original trilogy, but with updated graphics. So,
and I hate to say, when you finally get to see Darth Vader be Darth Vader, we've always been told, and he was on that screen less than 60 seconds in that scene, and I was like, my ticket was paid.
I mean, fine, right, that's there. A complete fan service scene, has legitimately nothing to do with story.
Who? That's in that one instance where I say, who the hell cares?
I the hell cares.
Well, nobody.
You are a huge lover of anime, and you're gonna say you don't like fan service?
Actually, I'm not that much of a fan of fan service anime.
But it doesn't matter though. It's all about the fact that even if it is just fan service, you're doing whatever. People have wanted to see Darth Vader be Darth Vader, the powerful Sith Lord that we've always been told he's existed. But his only good movies before that, I mean, really, he's not even in the movie very much, is basically like the first Star Wars movie, New Hope, and then The Empire Strikes Back. But he's not the same Darth Vader that we've been told about in the books, the comics, all these things.
The badass Darth Vader.
Yeah,
the one that's killing the army of people.
He wasn't struggling 1 second against him. He was pissed, but he moved with purpose. And whether you care if it's fan service or not, that was a great scene. It was worth my ticket that I paid for. I actually had to buy two because I had to buy my girlfriend's at the time. And we were both of those tickets.
And I feel like going forward, there's going to be things in Rogue One that might be more applicable. Like, there's the scene where he's on Mustafar. You see Darth Vader's lair. Like, who knows? Maybe we see that in The Last Jedi. Maybe Kylo Ren lives there now because, you know, he likes his granddaddy.
He worships his grandfather.
So, I don't know. I feel like it's... I don't know. I also I love it when a show kills its characters.
Well,
I feel like a lot of things would be better if they could just, you know...
A Han Solo needs to die in every movie.
Well, he's gone.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Leia's coming.
Yeah, she's the next one.
Sad to say, unfortunately.
Well, obviously, I would actually think that originally planned Luke was probably going to be the one to die in this one, but unfortunately, since Carrie Fisher actually passed away, she's going to be the one that has to die in this one.
They're probably going to save Luke's death for Episode 9.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
But what's something that you would want to bring up? I mean, I know I've brought up a couple topics,
so.
I just had some fun questions I thought were good.
Yeah, they were fun. So I would bring a Punisher, but I don't think either of you have watched it yet.
I haven't seen it. I've seen bits and pieces of the other ones, but
I haven't watched it.
What about? We can talk about Black Mirror. I know I've seen all of season 1, most of season 2, and then I just started season 3, and then I got you guys to watch an episode. It's called Playtest. It's episode 2 of season 3. And it has to do with video games. For those who don't know, Black Mirror is a show on Netflix. Most of the characters are British, and it usually takes place in England. But it's basically set in the near future, and usually each episode is a standalone and revolves around some form of new technology. This episode, basically, it's this American guy. His dad just died from Alzheimer's, and he doesn't get along with his mom, so he basically just starts traveling around the world to different places while he comes to terms with his father's death, and doesn't want to talk to his mom. There's several scenes where she calls him and he doesn't answer, and then he ends his trip in England, and he meets a girl, and the girl basically convinces him that you should probably go home and talk to your mom. Like, I'm sure she's going through a hard time just like you are. You need to get together and be family. And he's like, you know what, you're right. So he goes to buy a plane ticket home, and lo and behold, someone stole his credit card number, bought some fake stuff, and his bank canceled his credit card. So now he has no money to buy a plane ticket home, and he thinks about calling his mother to get her to wire him money, hopefully, and then just decides not to because people make poor decisions.
That's what life is.
So then this girl that he's been sleeping with that he just met out at a bar, she is a video game reviewer. I got the form. She writes about video games on some sort of online blog.
Yeah.
And she says she's heard of this basically just walk off the street job at this big video game company to play test their games, you would assume. So he and she also says, hey, if you see anything sneaky in there, some new technology, go ahead and take some pictures for me.
You'll
so
get more
instead of
money for
making
it.
minimum wage playtesting video games, you can make a couple $1,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
So he goes in and he's heard of this video game developer and the creator for it.
It's like Sato.
Yeah, Sato, which I'm almost positive is based off a real guy, the guy that makes the Silent Hill games.
Yeah,
Kojima.
Sato.
Is it Kojima?
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, Hideo Kojima.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just
Well,
like
I thought
that.
Sato Miyamoto was like one of the guys from Nintendo as well.
Well, Miyamoto's the guy that made Mario, but
And
Maybe
Zelda.
it's Saito Miyamoto. I don't remember his name, but that's what I caught. But yeah, it seems like they pulled like references to past, or even present game developers that are still pretty big.
oh no, Kojima's the guy that makes Metal Gear Solid. So maybe I'm.
No, but he does do Silent Hill.
He does do
too.
Silent Hill?
Yeah,
Okay.
because Norman Reedus is in the Silent Hill stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm pretty sure it's vaguely based off that. Anyways,
Yeah.
this guy basically had this huge video game hit. It's a horror game. This guy played it and is a huge fan of it. So when he walks into the place, there's this lady who basically has him fill out paperwork and stuff, and then she takes him to this room and says, "Hey, I'm going to fit you with this device." It's not virtual reality, but it's basically augmented reality, which is something Microsoft's been working on. So basically, it overlays stuff over the real world that
Oh
you
yeah,
see.
the HoloLenses.
Yeah, basically, Microsoft HoloLens is the closest analogy for it. Obviously, this is fictional and much more powerful in this episode that we're watching. So anyways, so she has him sign all this paperwork and is like, there's a medical procedure that goes with this, and he gets slightly concerned about it, and she's like, don't worry, it's so easy. So she walks up behind him, takes what looks like a little Matrix plug-in gun to the back of his neck, and plants this tiny little black bead on his neck.
Yeah.
And then puts a pretty much silver lens
Headband.
over his headband over his head. It kind of zaps him for a second, and then he starts seeing whack-a-mole come up on the table, and he starts having fun. And he's playing whack-a-mole. He's laughing about it. And then after that, he goes and he meets the creator of it, and he talks to him more about it and says, "All right, the next thing we're gonna do is basically you're gonna play the new demo for a horror game." And they're like, "Oh wow, that's crazy. That's cool." And to make it even more realistic, they take him to a replica mansion, or it's a real building that was based off of the horror game.
Mhm.
This big, giant, creepy old
Yeah.
mansion-looking thing. And the entire time, he has an earbud in his ears, and he can hear this lady talk to him. Well, slowly throughout the night, things get creepy. What I loved about it is it took a while. It took a while for things to start appearing, because that's exactly what a horror game is.
Mm-hmm.
You sit there, and you're playing for 2 hours before the giant monster jumps out at you.
Yeah.
But the entire time, every corner, every flicker of
Right.
light, you're looking for it. So creepy stuff starts happening. There's spiders everywhere. There's a giant spider with a face of his high school bully on it. And all that's fine, and exactly what he was expecting. And the lady he's talking to even gave him a safe word. So supposedly, if he says the word "stop," she's supposed to stop the test and pull him out. Well, what do you know? The girl that he thinks, or that he was sleeping with,
Yeah.
shows up, and she's warning him that this is all a trap, and people have disappeared, and all kinds of things like that. Oh, I also forgot an important mention. When he first walks in the room, he turns on his phone, which was originally turned off because they told him to turn it off, and snaps a picture of the device that they implant on him.
Yeah.
So back in the mansion, she appears. She's warning him, and for some reason he's not believing her. He's saying she's crazy. He's trying to give her wine, so it sounds like he's trying to sleep with her, even though he's being monitored immediately.
Yeah.
Anyways, she starts losing it, stabs him with a knife, and starts
Transforming.
choking him. And then when he touches her, because all the things he's seen so far, every time he touches, hand goes through is when they're fake. But this time when he touches her, she's solid, but then her face starts falling off, almost like she's like a robot,
Yeah.
And then he gets stabbed through the chest, and then he pulls her onto the knife that's sticking out through his chest and kills her, basically. But then he looks up and it's all gone, and then the lady's back in his ear being like, "What's going on? We lost you for a second." It gets really, really creepy, and then she starts saying that she knows everything that's going on, and starts saying that she's never going to escape, and he's never going to see her mother again, and he basically starts losing his mind, and then he wakes up.
He's back in the office.
He's back in the office in the creator, basically Hideo Kojima's room.
Because they had to update this.
Yeah, because they had to update it for the horror demo. And he's there, and he wakes up from that, and she's like, "Oh, you've only been gone a second. Is everything okay?" And he's freaking out about it. You might have to help me remember.
Yeah, so like, what did it? After that point, they pull the device out of his neck.
Mm-hmm.
He leaves. He finds a ticket home. He goes to see his mom. She's sitting in the room crying because obviously the dad's passed away. He's gone. And so then, he starts saying, "Hey, Mom, I'm here." And she's like, "I need to call Cooper." Is that what his name
Yeah,
was?
he starts... throughout the entire episode so far, his phone constantly rings from Mom. So it's like he arrives home, and she's still like, "I have to call you," basically. And keeps calling and calling and calling. And I mean, going into it, I knew there was going to be twist after twist after twist. Yeah. So I was like, so is this the first twist? Is this real? Did he basically wait too long and now she has Alzheimer's too? Mm-hmm. But then, of course, he goes crazy and starts saying "Mom, Mom, 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 Mom" over again, trying to like shake her out of it. Yeah. But then it pulls back again, and he's sitting in the first chair in the first room, and his phone's ringing.
Mom.
From Mom.
And intercepts the signal.
And the creator walks in, and he's like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "I don't know. It's only been 0.1 second, but his phone's ringing. It must have messed everything up."
0.04 seconds.
0.04 seconds. So basically, in 0.04 seconds, he's imagined himself in multiple realities, and the phone interference has caused basically every synapse to explode in his head.
Yeah, he's dead.
And now he's brain dead. And they're like, "Well, there goes another one," and then it like fades to black pretty much. And so it was really good to watch. It was a really good twist, and I thought a really good homage to horror games in general and video games in general. But I mean, this could happen.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's working on virtual reality. Well,
we already have like stuff like PSVR.
But it's
to that extent, to that kind of realism.
I mean, we're not plugging things into us yet.
No.
But it's not a big leap.
What that episode did for me was basically take an entire 2 seasons of Sword Art Online, condense it into a 1 hour episode, and it was a much better show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was pretty intense to watch it. Like, I love that idea, like with mainly the horror part, where like you're saying, like, I thought the beginning half of the episode was really slow, like trying to, because you have to build up all the information every single time with every single episode.
I mean, you basically have to world build and create a cohesive story. And that's what every episode is basically like, even though the subject matter is different. But I mean, I say it all the time at work. I'm like, if I could plug my iPhone in my head, I would. I just I don't know. I love technology, but I mean, the littlest thing could go wrong, and I mean,
your brain.
There's no going back. I mean. Think about it, it's just like driving your car, your brakes go out. There's nothing you can do about it. You don't want your brakes going out in your head. You might go blind, you might be stuck in a reality, but at the same time, like, imagine, like, when you dream at night. I feel like sometimes I'm asleep for days, and I have the weirdest, craziest dreams. And I'll wake up and it's been 30 minutes.
Yeah.
The distortion of time is so interesting. What if in the 30 minutes before you had to go to work, you could visualize yourself in a game for 12 hours,
Yeah.
Like, what if you could do that? That would be incredible, but, would people want to come out of it? What if instead of a horror game, it was something good?
Like Skyrim?
Halo, something fun.
Well, I mean, sure, like that, but there's a new movie coming out, it's based on Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Basically, in the near future, instead of living in your terrible, terrible reality, you're having the most magical adventures going through all your favorite movies, games, TV shows, everything. Like, I mean, 50 years from now, like, we might be too old, our brains might be too slow, but our grandkids might be doing that.
Yeah. So that was definitely interesting. Talking about other shows, I know we all have been watching RWBY. Mm-hmm. Did you watch the newest episode 7?
I think I'm 2 episodes behind.
Okay. We might not talk about that then.
Yeah, I feel like since we all like RWBY, maybe that could be a good corner talk episode.
Okay. Let's see here. But going on the subject of video games, then I know last time we met up, you were talking about possibly The Last of Us Part 2. That trailer being a little bit too brutal.
Watching it the second time, it wasn't as bad as I remembered. But I'm so excited for it. But basically, my thing is like, who is content designed for, and what is it additive? Does extra violence breaking someone's bones with a hammer, like what happened in the Last of Us 2 trailer, or I mean, how graphic does it have to be
to get your attention?
I mean, I get it; it's realistic, but there's a certain point where, like, I don't like horror movies. I like Saw because I think the Saw series, has an interesting story, at least through most of the movies. But Saw doesn't need to be as graphic as it is to get the same point across.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my that's kind of my point with The Last of Us is I don't remember the first movie being that violent, that graphic. What I remember about Last of Us is the world and the conversations between Ellie and Joel, and the combat was great. It's like half stealth, and then whenever you got caught, then you could usually fight your way out of a situation.
Depending on what mode you're playing on.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I was always terrible at the stealth mode, so.
The first time I actually tried to sit down and play that game, I played it on grounded mode, and I got about 85% of the way through the game until I just hit a point that no matter what I did, no matter how hard I tried to sneak through, like, I didn't have enough resources to take out the one thing I needed to get out.
Yeah.
So literally I had to fight everything, and it was the one time in the game that I walked around the whole area and counted every single enemy because they were all sleeping. I knew their patterns, and even if I tried to wake somebody, 4 times as many creatures showed up and tried to attack me than there were in the entire room, and there's no way out and there was no way in. It was that. So to me, I'm like, that's a little bit much, because you're trying to be a horror stealth game. But like you said, like, I think it'll be interesting to see what this one does. I don't know. Like, I don't think the first one was as brutal, like you said, especially based on this trailer. But most of the time, it sucks. But with video games nowadays, most of the trailers that they show us aren't even in the game.
Yeah.
It's just to try to show off the newest graphics, what could possibly happen in the game.
Yeah.
But don't ever actually make it into the game.
Yeah. I don't know. The Last of Us just, I don't know. The trailer, I think the trailer was the second trailer for The Last of Us. And the first one was just Ellie, like, basically sitting in a house bloody playing guitar. Yeah. And then the second thing they show us is it's not any characters you've ever seen before, new characters, and it's just them one group graphically torturing the other group until they get killed. And that's what they're trying to. That's what they're. A trailer is supposed to show you what you're in for a game.
Yeah.
So if that's what we have to look forward to, the game definitely looks a lot more graphic. It's like if in the Avengers trailer they showed like people getting decapitated, it'd be like, well, I guess that's what I'm in for. It's just different.
Yeah, but you wouldn't expect that with a game like The Last of Us. It's set in a post-apocalyptic society where that kind of thing is very possible. Now, that's the kind of thing that you're looking forward to in a Last of Us game. Is that kind of human on human, I'm not trusting anyone, do what I can to get information and leave you for dead. That's always been the kind of vibe that The Last of Us has given me. Now, if you take another post-apocalyptic game like Fallout, very different vibe, right from the start. With Fallout, you're looking more at like a role-playing game, surviving in a nuclear wasteland. Yeah, people are out to get each other, but it's never that graphic. Fallout never kind of delves into that kind of reality because it's not what the game is about. The game is about you building up your character and your relationship and exploring the world, while with The Last of Us, it's less about exploring the world and more about getting to a destination and sneaking around or taking out as many people as possible.
I mean, you're right that it's 2 different kinds of games, and obviously, like, the first one, it could be considered brutal because of the things and the bandits and other groups, like the Fireflies and things that they do. They're talking about how, at the very end of the game, the first one, again, spoilers if you've never played The Last of Us, shame on you if you haven't, that, he goes into the room and you have a choice, because you're going to say no no matter what, because that's just part of the narrative of the game, because literally what they tell you is that they're basically going to rip out her immune system, essentially.
Yeah, they basically have to dissect her in order to
find out why.
Hopefully find the cure.
Yeah, and
which
Joel,
it's never 100% they're going to find the cure.
Yeah.
I think that's and Joel doesn't tell Ellie, even though it's implied that she thinks she knows what happened at the end of the first game. But basically, to me, The Last of Us was making you care about characters so that when something really bad's about to happen to them, it hurts you just as much. And they do that from the first 10 minutes of the game, where Joel's daughter Sarah dies in his arms.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, like I cried the first time I played that scene. I was like, I teared up. I was like,
crazy,
oh my gosh.
Like, there wasn't a single throwaway character that you come across. You're talking about Sarah, but you're also talking about a woman that Joel obviously had a relationship with.
In the first 2 hours of the game,
she's
dies.
gone because she got bit.
Yeah.
Then you come across like a guy. He's probably no older than 20 with his younger brother, and his younger brother ends up getting bit, and they have to kill the brother because they have no choice because he starts turning.
Yep.
But then the older brother can't handle the reality of not having his other brother and blows his own brains out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like things like that, but like
I think maybe the trailer's more fake to the game.
Yeah,
maybe
but the thing is like
that bad. It's just not what I remember.
Yeah, it's just like this game was. But there's other choices too, like that ending scene where Ellie's on the operating table, and you had a choice. You could just take her and leave, or you can do what I did and you blow everybody's head off. Because
there's an option to
you can kill
everyone.
Oh, I thought so.
I remember there being
not going up to it, but in the surgery room itself. All the doctors.
Oh yeah.
I blew every single one of their heads off.
I remember that. Yeah, I don't think I killed the doctors, but
you have to kill everybody going up to the room because they're trying to kill you. You have no choice.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably sneak past them somehow, but it's very difficult. I tried, still couldn't do it. I just ended up killing everybody because at that point it was just easier. But with the doctors, I blew all their heads off.
Yeah. It's funny how in video games you make choices that are very like strange. Like who you are as a Grand Theft Auto player shows a lot about your psychology. Whether you're running down people in the streets, whether you're obeying traffic laws, whether you're I love choices in video games because you can do things. And for me personally, like there are certain games that are meant to be replayed multiple times, like Fallout, where you can there's major plot points whether you blow up a certain city or not, or do things like that. And no matter how many times I go back, I usually make the good decisions. Unless like I don't think my character's going to, and I think that is interesting. I mean, it doesn't impact the game in any way, but I like that in The Last of Us there are characters that you can choose to kill or not, and I hope there's more of that in the next one.
Mm-hmm. And like when it comes down to choices, like some of my more favorite games, I remember watching you play one, Heavy Rain. That one was very heavily based on choice,
and the game was basically an interactive movie.
And that was kind of when one game me and him have played is Until Dawn. It's an interactive horror movie. I don't know if you ever played it.
I watched Rooster Teeth do like one part.
I played that. I basically bought a PS4 to play that game, and I played it like 10 times in a row because there were just so many choices. And I watched other people like on YouTube do playthroughs of it, and every single time, no matter who I watched or whether I was doing the playthrough, something different always happened.
Yeah.
And it was just great.
Now, the thing about a game like Until Dawn is that because it is an interactive horror game, the fear strikes you a lot faster first time through. Mm-hmm. You have no idea if opening that door is going to lead to your character's death or not.
Yeah.
There was this one time where I was doing a playthrough of the game, and one of the characters that I thought had died actually survived. And I was following their voice down this tunnel, and I got to this part where a trap door, there was knocking. And the voice was loud and clear, so they were nearby. I knew one of two things was going to happen if I was going to open that door. I was either going to die, or I was going to save someone. I did the dumb thing. I opened the door. Not only did I die, I died with my head getting ripped off and thrown to the side.
Yeah. Well, because the villain creature of that game, the way it hunts is it can mimic voices and things it's heard, which is why it was copying the voice of another character. Because if you had played that game and that character had died earlier, and then you start hearing that voice, maybe it makes you think, oh, maybe they did survive, even though if you got one of the death scenes, you either saw her jaw get ripped off or something else happened. You know that she was dead. So the curiosity kind of gets to you still, and you're curious, and it ends up to you dying. Yeah. And it's good. Obviously, other games give you good choices in maybe more of a fun way, like fantasy games, or kind of like how we've all played the new South Park game. That one's not super heavy based on choices, but you get to choose how your character looks, the powers you use, the things like that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that one I had a lot of fun with. I thought it was a good improvement from Yeah, the truth.
It was definitely fun. I liked how it carried over from the first game too, and I always like games that like there's stuff that you can find, and if you find it, you feel like you're the only person that's seen this. So one of the things I found out in the South Park game was in the opening cutscene, if you try and skip it, Cartman is like, no, you really need to see this, and you can and you hit start to skip the first cutscene. You can do it like 15 times, but eventually he lets you do it, but you have to like hold start like 15 times, and then he eventually have you seen it? He like lets you skip it, but then they like make a comment later about how stupid it is to like skip cutscenes or whatever.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then there's other things like I don't know if y'all have ever played the first Dark Souls game, but
I have.
Okay, the first Dark Souls game, the like 15 minutes in, you make your character, then you run around, you kill like 1 or 2 skeletons, and you're basically walking through the tutorial because there's all these markers on the ground teaching you the controls. You get to the first quote-unquote boss, and you're on this high ledge, like 50 feet up above the boss, which is this giant demon with a giant hammer. Mm-hmm. Even though the demon's giant, you're so far above him, you're like, well, there's, no, like, he can't get me, I'm so high. And there's a little marker on the ground that says, like, hold right trigger to plunge attack. And I remember sitting there being like, plunge attack, what does that mean? Should I run off? What if I die if I run off? While I'm sitting there thinking, what should I do? The monster looks up, grunts, sees me, jumps in the air, and one hit kills me.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my gosh. But I was like, that's amazing. Like, if you take too long, Dark Souls punishes you because that's the kind of game it is.
Oh, yeah.
But if I had just been like, oh, okay, right trigger plunged up off the edge, I never would have known that. I love games like that. The Resident Evil 7 that came out a couple months ago. There's one part where you're in the house. They're all houses, and there's like the kitchen. And this guy comes out and he starts chasing you. And the kitchen is like a big circular area, or it's not a circular area. There's a kitchen, there's a hallway, and then another hallway off that hallway. Well, I dodged around him. He hit me once, but it takes a couple hits to kill you. Mm-hmm. And I ran down the hallway and I was like, I'm free. The guy ran through the wall and went poof, right into the wall and knocked me over and killed me. So, and then when and the next time that happened, I dodged it, so he didn't kill me. But now there's a giant hole in the wall. The first time I saw the game, I watched a Let's Play of it online, and he never came through the wall. So you can have different experiences playing the same games on the same part, but there's things that can change.
Wow.
And I love that about video games. I mean, think about I started playing on the Super Nintendo with Mario. I mean, everyone's played the exact same Mario thing. I mean, obviously there's little secrets and stuff, but
warp zones.
Just video games are so much more complex than they used to be. And I mean,
we kind of take it for granted a little bit, and Resident Evil 7 is one of those ones that I really want to play on the PSVR, and I just haven't bought the game to do so yet.
Yeah, same.
And now they've come out with Doom VFR.
Yeah.
And it's I kind of want to trade in my actual copy of Doom to go buy this one because I feel like it would be way more fun to play in VR.
Pretty soon they're going to come out with Skyrim VR.
Yeah, I think it's out now. Or it's coming out, Skyrim VR?
If it's not out, it's definitely coming out. They've already said that it is.
Really?
It's just crazy with all the things that they've done, kind of going back to the Black Mirror episode with virtual reality. And, I played a couple of VR games. Some of them were shorter than others, where you got to be Batman, and that was kind of fun.
No, but, we're with VR, we're finally getting into the type of games that I feel are best for that kind of console, where it's first-person, either fantasy, adventure, or even horror games. But key word there is first-person. You have these kind of VR games where you're kind of looking top-down and controlling where a character goes, but I don't want to play those kind of VR games. I want to play the VR game where I'm simulating the person that I want to be. I'm actually the one carrying the sword. I'm the one doing the attacks.
Well, you're talking about in the demo disc from the PSVR. I mean, I know it's been out for over a year now, and there was a big rig game or whatever. You control the giant robots, kind of like Titanfall, but it was more of a 5v5 kind of game. And I remember playing the demo for that. I mean, the full game was $60. I'm I'm not paying $60 for this. Sorry, but. You go out and you are in an arena, you can jump around, and it's cool to be able to look around and do things. But obviously, with certain games are good at it, some are not. Some have a good control to where you don't feel motion sickness, but some games like that one, you get really bad motion sickness because you have to jump around so much.
I actually never got motion sickness with that one.
There's one that I got really bad. It wasn't that one, but there was another demo one.
Was it Valkyrie?
No, it was a space one, but it was another, you control the robot or something, but something about it just gave me really bad motion sickness.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been trying to do VR since the 80s, and, I mean, I want it to take off and be cool, but I think there's so many things that prevent it. One, cost. How much are people willing to pay? Because if you want to play something like the Oculus, you need like $1,000 PC.
Yeah,
and now there's the PS4, the PlayStation VR, but even that, which is more or less the budget VR system, you're still got to invest $800 plus games.
Yeah.
And then that's just the monetary restrictions. Now imagine people getting motion sick. Imagine people not having a dedicated VR space where you have 20 feet in every direction to walk around. You know, so I mean, I hope, you know, I assume eventually one day VR will take off, because right now, because it used to be the graphics were too bad. I think like people didn't.
They're fine. They're okay.
The graphics are good enough now. I feel like it's more the affordability of the equipment, and then getting people to invest. Yeah, and because if you don't have a stable platform or people with the system, no one's going to develop games for it. Yeah, you know. So.
And that's the issue right now. It's been a year now since PSVR's been out, and you've seen some releases of games, some not. Not a lot, unfortunately. And like you're talking about, like I remember buying the PSVR the day it came out, and it was just to buy the initial hardware. I mean, I bought it in like a bundle pack, but to buy that was $400. To get everything else that even made it feel remotely worth it, like the motion controls, the camera, was almost, and some games is almost an additional $200 to $250. Mm-hmm. Well, I went ahead and bought the $500 bundle that came with the $200 worth of extra stuff for only $100, and then bought a few games with extra money. I only spent like $550 versus like $800 on just that system. But obviously, you have to have the PS4 for that to work.
So how many games would you say you've played on the PlayStation VR?
Probably only 3 or 4.
And how much did those games cost?
One of them was $20. Another one was $20. I try not to spend more than $30 on the game, because games that end up being $60, from what reviews I watched, they were fun, they looked good, but they were still only like an hour or two long. Yeah, and I'm not paying $60
not counting the PS4, you basically spent almost $600 to play 4 games. Yeah. So I don't know. I obviously like the PlayStation. Like I want to play the VR system, but that's the only reason why I haven't got one, because I didn't think there was enough games that I would want to play. And I mean,
and not a lot of good replayability.
I Redbox movies because I don't think spending $20 on a movie is worth it.
Big on the movie.
And then playing like Job Simulator. I don't think I would want to pay $120 to play Job Simulator for 4 hours.
I mean, that's a fun game.
Just
but
if they come out with a killer game, like if they like now Skyrim's out. If they came out with the next Elder Scrolls game, if they came out with Elder Scrolls 6 and they're like it's on PlayStation VR, I would probably go ahead and invest and get it, because I know I'm going to spend 100 to 150 hours playing it.
No, that's the thing. I promise you. The next Elder Scrolls one, whatever it's going to be, is going to be VR compatible. I can almost promise you that. I can also promise you that the next time they come out with a new Fallout game, that's also going to be VR compatible.
I hope so, but I mean, we haven't heard anything about another one, so it might still be 3 or 4 years off. Yeah. The PlayStation VR, the one that's out now, might be obsolete. You might have to have a PS5 with the PS5 VR system, if they even make another VR system. You know, if they're not selling, they're not going to make it. Yeah, which would suck. But I mean, that's, who knows with technology. Yeah. I mean, you get so outdated so quickly. Mm-hmm. Like 5 years from now, like I just got a 4K TV. 5 years from now, I might be like, you don't have an 8K TV already? What's wrong with you? You know, like who knows? Yeah.
I mean, eventually, TVs, you're going to have to wear special glasses just to be able to see how good they are.
Yeah, well, yeah.
No way, the eye can only comprehend.
Exactly. So I mean, I have a 55-inch 4K TV, and I don't think like it looks slightly clearer, but that might just be because I just got a TV that's not 4 years old now. You know. Yeah.
Well, you're also talking about like, because you also have like the Xbox One X and things like that can actually pump out in 4K. The games probably look fantastic.
I mean, they look slightly better, but it's only slightly. So it might be because my TV's not big enough to show the 4K. Like, but is it's 4K, but I might not be able to tell. But like the main reason why I upgraded was because I had a 4-year-old TV that pixels were starting to go out on it. So I might just be enjoying the fact that like my dark scenes aren't the wrong color anymore. True. You know. So I don't know. I mean, it looks great. That's all I can say. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
So there's just a lot of different things that obviously looking forward to. You know, especially in the movies with, you know, Star Wars and Avengers coming out. Eventually maybe some more games would be good. And it's just that with all that stuff, hopefully, you know, games would start looking better. I mean, they already look fantastic to me. And I don't know how they're going to get much better. I'm sure they'll find a way.
Well, at this point, you're going to start seeing less realistic looking games and more stylized games.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think is really interesting. Is one of my favorite games that's come out recently is called Cuphead, and it looks like a 1930s Mickey Mouse cartoon.
Oh, it looks
but
fantastic.
it looks amazing, even though it looks like a drawn cartoon.
Well, because it is a drawn cartoon. Like
Yeah,
every single cell of that game is flat out hand drawn.
Yeah, but I'm saying like it doesn't have to look realistic. We don't need things to look more realistic for them to look better.
No, like games like Overwatch or Team Fortress 2 or League of Legends. Those are not at all. Those are not at all realistic looking games. They're very much stylized, and they are probably some of the top selling games out there.
I mean, I can tell you I have a whole different subject when it comes to like the difference between, or my issues between like League of Legends and Overwatch and why I think one's better than the other, but
we can talk about that some other time.
Yeah, when it comes to these big MOBA games.
So what are you guys playing? Anything new recently?
I'm kind of waiting actually for Christmas because I got asked for a few of those games. So I'm hoping to start maybe play like Evil Within 2, Shadow of War, the new Pokemon, the last one that's going to be on the handheld before they release the one that's going to be on the Switch eventually.
I just got Ultra Moon myself. I haven't started playing it yet, but I do have it. So.
But talking about Christmas, here's an interesting question. Now that we're all kind of like we said, like mid-20s, with Christmas basically starting every year in October now instead of waiting to December, does it ever feel like Christmas? I mean, I know you have a son, so maybe it might be a little bit different for you.
Things feel like Christmas. Like when I put up my tree and when we bake cookies and stuff, like that feels like Christmas. But I mean, just where we're located in Georgia, I mean, some days it's still 80 degrees outside, other days it's cold. But that's universal. Everyone would say that just depending on where they live. But as far as store wise, I mean, the stores think it's Christmas in October.
I know.
Yeah. I go to the store and I'm like, why are the lines so long?
I personally don't get that kind of Christmas feel until people start to decorate their houses and you see the street lines lined up with Christmas lights. Like, I currently work at a gas station, and just recently they started putting Christmas lights in the building across the street, and it's like, wow, starting to get that Christmas feeling now. But I never got that at all through October or throughout most of November. It was only once the lights started coming up and people started getting into the holiday spirit, that's when it started to feel like Christmas to me.
I guess for me over the past few years, and this year could be different, and it's just that, you know, the past few years I probably didn't, because I never really felt like it was Christmas. I didn't ever watch too many of the Christmas movies, like the classics, like the Santa Claus, Rudolph, Frosty the Snowman, things like that, what you watched as a kid. But, you know, but at the same time, it's like all of a sudden, oh, it's Christmas, I need to buy gifts for family. Which I have no problem with, you know, like I really enjoy, like, getting things for people and seeing reactions. But it just never felt like Christmas, and you know, it's only the 4th now, or the 5th, I guess. And so that could be different maybe if I take the time to actually watch Christmas movies again and do different actual Christmas things, then maybe it would. But it just hasn't felt like it for a couple of years.
I think it's whatever Christmas means to you. So like if Christmas to you is that might be what you did as a kid, and since you don't do it anymore because you're an adult, it doesn't feel like Christmas. Yeah. Whereas me, like I just a couple years ago, you know, I basically started a family and things like that. So it doesn't feel like the Christmas I had when I was a kid, because when I was a kid, my Christmas was, oh, I'm so excited to, you know, leave out cookies for Santa, and I'm so excited to see my giant pile of presents. As an adult, you don't get crap. You get a couple presents from your significant other, or 1 or 2 from your parents, and that's it. You're spending hundreds of dollars on your kids, and half the stuff you do is for them and things like that. I mean, certain things we still do. Like, to me, my Christmas movies that I watched as a kid was Home Alone 2 and Christmas Vacation. And every year, I watched those multiple times leading up to Christmas. And I just started doing that. So that part feels like Christmas. And then with my family, we started, basically, my fiance's tradition is cinnamon rolls on Christmas morning, which we started about a month early, so we've had a lot of cinnamon rolls recently. But that feels like Christmas to me now. We got the tree up, and we got to shoot the cats away from it every day, so that's Christmas and things like that.
And the interesting thing too is like what our family still does is we didn't do it for a few years, but now like just to still kind of keep that Christmas feel is that we usually dedicate one person each year to pass out the presents one at a time. But sometimes, like, instead of my parents always putting, like, oh, this is from us to their granddaughter Amelia, or this to, like, me or Curtis or something like that, they'll put, like, to whoever from Santa. Mm-hmm. So it's, like, it still kind of gives you that feel of Christmas.
Oh, my fiance gets a present from Mr. Claus every year, don't you?
But yeah, so it's interesting, or it'll be, and it might be different for me later on whenever I have a family, that maybe Christmas feels different, but obviously when it starts earlier and earlier every year, I'm waiting for it to for Christmas to start in actual July, and the excuse is, well, Christmas in July has always been a thing, so we're going to start putting up decorations and have 6 months of Christmas. And
what's wrong with 6 months of Christmas?
Did you not play that same South Park game I did, where Cartman wanted Christmas every day, and the Christmas critters came out?
I think Cartman's idea of Christmas is very different from ours.
Well, it's not even that his idea, it's just the fact that certain things come out in their reality out on Christmas.
So one of the last things I have to bring up is, y'all might not care about it as much. Nick is a little bit familiar, but there is a brand new Magic the Gathering set coming out and a brand new Hearthstone set coming out.
Is it Ixalan that's coming
out?
No,
Ixalan came out a few months ago.
Okay.
It's for the Magic. It's a set called Unstable, and
is it gonna be kind of like Unhinged?
Yeah, 10 or 15 years ago there was a set called Unhinged and a set called Unglued, which is it's basically a limited release, so you can only get it for a limited time. It's silver bordered as opposed to black, and you're not allowed to play it in normal tournaments. But you can play it in, casual formats and, just for fun. And at release weekend, they always have drafts. So this is the first one they've done in about 10 years, I believe. Two things about the set that are awesome. One, if you play Magic, lands are really important. Lands are basically how you cast all your spells. Over a third, almost half your deck, no matter what you play, is lands or basic lands. Well, in all the unsets, as they called them, the silver bordered sets, they've done full art lands, and they've even improved it from the last time, which they put out borderless full art lands.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm pulling that up for them to...
So I don't know what any of this is, so if you're lost, don't worry, I'm lost with you.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, so they're all done by, I believe, John Avon, who did some of the most popular ones last time. Now, I think in every single pack, you're guaranteed to get a full art basic land. And you can play 20 or 30 of these in each.
That's really cool.
Yeah. You can play 20 or 30 of these in all your decks. But right now, they might be worth $1 or $2. Most basic lands are literally worthless. They're worth like 10 cents. But if Unhinged and Unglued is any, hint, 10 years from the line, each of these lands is going to be worth at least $15, and foils will be like $50.
Yeah.
So those are important. The other thing that's really cool about the unsets is literally it's a joke set. There's 1,000 jokes. There's cards based off of the most random things you can think of. Like we have the Sword of Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, that's interesting.
So there's a cycle of mythic rare swords in past Magic sets that have always been really powerful. This one is based off of Dungeons and Dragons. So you roll a d20 when you play this card. So that's a poke at Dungeons and Dragons.
Nice.
There's a sorcery called Side Quest. There's a card that you can augment.
With these?
Yeah. So there are cards like this one is called the Shaggy Camel. When this creature enters the battlefield, creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn, and it's a 3/3. And then there are augment cards. So these are basically enchantments, so they still say creature, and then you lay it over the divided line, so that 2 cards basically create 1 card, and then you read it. So this card's called Rhino. It gives +1/+4, so when you equip it to your Shaggy Camel, you now have a Rhino Camel. And then when this creature blocks, you would give your creatures +1/+1 until end of turn. And there's all kinds of funny combinations. You can make ninja jellyfish. Wow. You can make half orc, half squirrels. You can make crafty, or no, not crafty. You can make half shark, half kittens. Yeah, half kitten, half kitten.
Yeah.
So you can do really absurd things like that. There's a card called Go to Jail. When Go to Jail enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls until Go to Jail leaves the battlefield. At the beginning of the upkeep of the exiled card's owner, that player rolls 2 6-sided dice. If he or she rolls double, sacrifice Go to Jail. So you're basically playing Monopoly in a game of Magic.
Nice. This is a set I would actually really enjoy.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, the release is a Saturday. I'm off. I'm going. You want
This Saturday?
This Saturday.
Oh, crap. Of course, I'm working normally, but I have to I'm off Friday,
Oh, okay.
but I have to go.
There's a card called Better Than One, which you choose a person outside the game. That player becomes your teammate. Give them any cards in your hand, deck, or battlefield. So basically, you're sitting down in a tournament across from a player, and you turn to your friend who's not playing, and you go, "Hey, come be my teammate." And you shove the person to the left of you out of the way, and they sit down next to you. And then you keep playing your game. And it's really, really absurd. So that's one thing if no one knows, but I am a huge card game player, both Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone. And Hearthstone has a Dungeons and Dragons set coming out too. That's basically named off it. Yeah, there's lots of dragons, lots of dungeons, lots of really absurd, funny things. And,
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything they want to talk about?
Not really. I think I've covered all the topics that I have for this week. I mean, obviously, there's other things we can go way into. I think we probably save those for next. Well, I don't know. By the time we hit the next podcast, The Last Jedi may be out by that point.
Yeah, we'll probably be talking all about that.
Yeah,
that'll be exciting. So before we sign off, I'm gonna tell a funny story. Maybe we'll each do like a sign off each week where we tell a funny story. Well, this week I had the joy on Saturday morning to wake up to water dripping from my ceiling, which was fantastic. I live in an apartment, and this is the third leak we've had in 3 months, never in the same spot. So I guess just all the pipes are rusting and breaking in every direction. So anyway, so it was dripping. We of course contacted emergency maintenance because it's an emergency. There's literally water falling from the ceiling that we have to put a pot under, wake up to like the floor covered in water. And you would think, hey, these are our apartments and we don't want them to get water damage, so we should come out as soon as possible, right? Well, at 5 p.m., someone came out 8 hours later and looks at it, and then I guess goes upstairs and looks at the upstairs apartment, and then comes back and is like, so it's in your ceiling. Well, thanks. I'm glad we know it's in the ceiling.
Yeah.
We were gonna have to cut into the ceiling to get to it. We can't go through the top of the apartment above you. I'm like, okay, makes sense. He's like, well, I can't do it by myself, and I'm the only one working today. Is what the emergency maintenance guy says. But I'll get someone else, and we'll be out there at 10 a.m. the next morning. I'm like, all right, well, if that's as soon as you can get it done, I guess that's what we'll do. So on Sunday, I wake up, nice and early. We make sure we cook breakfast, get everything cleaned up before they come, because we don't want them getting stuff messed up on our dishes and everything. And 10 o'clock rolls around and no one shows up. 11, 12, 1. We checked the office and they said they're open from 1 to 5 today. So about 1:30, I walk up to the office and I'm like, well, I better ask where they're at. So as I'm walking to the office, which is right behind my apartment complex, I see one of the female receptionist ladies on a golf cart driving someone else around. I'm like, and she like we're walking down the cement walkway, so they stop, pull to the side while we pass them, and then they pass us. So she has ample opportunity to wave at me, and then she drives by, and I walk up to the office, and it has that sign with the little clock, and it says "Come in." I'm like, oh, I'd love to come in because that's what I'm here for. The door's locked.
Yeah.
No one's there. The lights aren't on. And I knock and no one's there. And I'm like, wow, that's weird. So I sit down on the bench outside and I'm like, I guess she'll be back eventually. And I have time to write the manager of the apartment complex an email and send it to him in the time it takes her to get back. And she comes back and I'm like, hi. She's like, hi. Like, so you forgot to flip the sign. And she goes, no, we don't flip the sign when we're showing apartments. So you just leave a sign saying, please come in, and the door locked at the same time. Makes no sense. So anyways, I contact her, and let her know. I'm like, so where's the maintenance guy? And she, of course, says, I have no idea, nor do I have any idea what's going on, but I'll call him and see what's happening. So 2 hours later, the guy shows up at my door and is like, hi, they said you tried to get a hold of me. Also, we gave this guy my number the day before in case he needed to let us know when he was coming to fix stuff or whatever, and no one ever said anything. No, there was no call or knock on the door saying, well, we won't be there tomorrow. No, nothing. So he comes by and he goes, yeah, I'm still the only person here, so it won't be fixed till Monday. Okay, why did you think there would be somewhere Sunday when I don't know. I just said okay. And then Sunday night, we noticed that the 2 wet spots are now in all 4 corners of the kitchen wall and ceiling. And also, I go to feed the cats. The cats like food thing is on my bookcase, which is in the corner of the dining room, which is across from the kitchen. And notice the entire floor is soaked around my bookshelf in the dining room.
Ooh.
So the dripping has seeped all the way across the entire ceiling and gone down the connecting wall in the dining room. Is now coming out under the floor. Well, I sent another message to the manager to update him to let him know what's going on, and they show up Monday and they cut a hole in my ceiling while I was at work, which we have to get all of our animals out of the apartment. We have 2 cats and a dog because they won't come do any work if animals are there because they're scared. They're either scared of the animals or just don't like animals. Even though I paid a pet deposit, I have to remove my animals and take them to work. Luckily, my fiance works at an animal hospital and can do that. Otherwise, I don't know what we do. But anyways, they come in. I come home on Monday. There's a giant hole in the ceiling. I knew that hole was going to be there. That's fine. Eventually, they come back by because I didn't know what was going on. I had to go back to the front office to be like, is the leak fixed? What's happening? When are you going to fix my ceiling? Eventually come back by and say everything's fixed, and they set up a dehumidifier in my kitchen to remove all the moisture. And supposedly they'll fix it. There's still a giant hole in the wall. But the end of the story is this. When they cut out the giant hole in the ceiling of wet plaster, they shredded wet plaster all over my kitchen. So it's on all the cabinets, on all the floors, it's on all the counters. And then the guy with his shoes walked through my carpet in it and all the way outside. So now it looks like someone jizzed all over my kitchen.
Oh, damn.
Merry Christmas. That's it for the
first
More
part.
Entertainment podcast.
Thank
Check
you
back
for-
next week.
Thank you for listening. If you got all the way through,
Yeah, we hope you enjoyed it. I think next time we'll try to make sure it's a little bit more funny. Try to get a couple more jokes in there. I think we were just really excited to talk about certain trailers and
Yeah,
different
there's
things that
so
happen.
much going on right now. I mean, so many. I mean, this is their first episode, so we have a backlog of things we've watched recently and wanted to cover.
Yeah.
So hopefully we will have maybe some more real life stories coming up soon. The holidays are always a nightmare and wonderful at the same time. So.
Yeah. It's very true. All right, we'll see you guys next week.